Did anyone else notice how the news just glossed over this key part of Anthony Albanese's plan to criminalise hate speech?
New offences for people who threaten violence against groups and adults who radicalise children.
Inciting someone to become an extremist. Gee, what a unique category of crime. Have we had any examples of that lately?
Undercover officers from the Australian Federal Police encouraged an autistic teenager's fixation with Islamic State.
That is for real. A magistrate threw out a charge of being extremely violent online against a 13-year-old kid in Victoria a couple of years back because A, he was full-blown autistic, B, he had an IQ in the low 70s, admittedly too high for the Australian Federal Police graduate program, but still a sign of exceptional intellectual limitations. And he had never done anything but talk a little bit of shit before some AFP undercovers contacted him and suggested he learn to use a sniper rifle and offer his services to Islamic State. Not even fucking joking one bit. How much of the wave of violent extremism that has swept Australia over the summer, that's seen people held in remand for weeks for off-coloured tweets or telegram messages, has been facilitated, caused, or outright inspired by undercover AFP operatives? How much money are we paying these old days at our crime prevention agency to cause crime like this? Who among them is going to have the balls tomorrow to demand that the price of their support for this legislation is that the AFP and other security agencies that radicalise ordinary innocent Australians in undercover stings face charges, sanctions or fines? I'll bet you get no takers on that one tomorrow. Tell you one other thing I find passing strange about this whole thing. Both Anthony Albanese and Susan Ley, before they became the leaders of each of the major parties, were the most outspokenly pro-Palestinian MPs in the Australian Parliament. They actually both led the Friends of Palestine parliamentary organisation. But now, they've got the top job. And what are they doing? They're outbidding each other in a war to criminalise criticising the state of Israel or the Jewish lobby, which we know works behind the scenes in the most nefarious and devious ways to get its way. Makes you wonder, hey? What is it that changes your mind on something like that? A long-held issue of principle, perhaps the only one you've ever evidenced. Funny, ain't it? How two people prepared to junk any principle on any basis are the ones coming after people who actually have some and speak out about them. Because it seems like there are some things you just can't say in Australia in 2026, even before we go down this George Orwell path. One of those is what the findings of a truthful Royal Commission into the causes of anti-Semitism would be. I can condense it down to about 15 fucking words. For the past 2 years, anti-Semitic attacks in Australia and worldwide have risen markedly. But that's also the same period of time for which Israel has decided to go full fucking skits mode, totally off the chain and straight up murk 20,000 innocent Palestinian children in defiance of all laws and principles. Coincidence? Nobody was saying that after 9/11 there was so much talk about blowback and US imperialism, and yet there has been none on this and the response of Israel to October the 7th. The fact is, every single citizen of that nation, but also every single Jew, was endangered by the outrageous, abominable, totally diabolical actions of its army. Yet how many people speak this truth in public life in Australia? How often do you ever hear someone in the news quoted as having this opinion? Makes you wonder why, doesn't it? Makes you wonder why they're in such a rush to criminalise hate speech when it seems there's already some things you can't say in Australia in 2026. And that's before we've even embarked down the vote to go down this Orwellian route. It seems like everyone in public life is basically already holding their tongue about this stuff. So why the rush? And for whom?